All right, here we go. It's live stream time, live stream Q&A on September the 14th of 2017. I am just chilling here. How is it going, everybody? We are live stream Q&A questioning. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Let me know how the stream is going because I have a new stream set up with a webcam and stuff. So hopefully, oh God, what's going on? Oh no. This is going to be one of those times where I just try and quickly answer as many questions as I can see as possible. So, I am drinking coffee. It's 11:43 p.m. Oh my God, this was kind of a terrible idea. There is a lot. Oh God. This is just going to be impossible. Hey. I see you, Rick Beato. I'm just gonna do that. Okay. This is gonna be terrible. This is gonna be a shit show. So we're gonna just talk. We're gonna do this. Leave this up later, please. I intend to do that. Stop spamming. Well, you know, whatever. Hey, Duder, have you been watching Esperanza Spalding's live stream album project? I saw her working with Robert Glasper and Ray Angry on a song last night. It was incredible. I haven't been watching it, but I have heard about it, and that's something that I was considering doing until I read about her doing. It's like the idea of just being in a studio and live streaming the whole thing. Actually, it would have just been me in my apartment and live streaming the whole thing. I still might do that, but I still need to check out what she's been doing over the past couple days because I think that's such a cool idea. Yeah, anyway. What is objectively the best note? A equals 432 hertz. Do you like Rick and Morty? The fans have become a meme, but the show is really good. Yeah, I've started watching it. It is really cool. It's really good. It's incredibly smart. I can understand why it would be obnoxious to have fanboys going like apeshit over that show because it's nihilistic and I don't know. It's a fun diversion, but to me, it's not like the most amazing show ever. But it is fun. It's an objectively like really well written show. So I've been getting into it a little bit more recently. What is your favorite chord? I don't know, but I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't know about music, do you? Oh my God. This is so freaking annoying. Why are so many people here? Well, at some point I'll work it out. Fourth, the fifth, the major chord, and the minor lift. Do you have plans to compose more arrangements like you did with Clarity? Yes, I do. I'm in the works of planning some things with some singers. Basically, I'm just gonna do like a little mini EP of things like that arrangement because that was fun. That was supposed to just be a one-off, but holy crap, did people like that arrangement? And I was like, whoa, maybe I should do more of it. It is definitely a pain in the ass to put that many people in the same room together, especially like pros like that I work with all the time. So I'm hopefully planning on, working with a couple like singers that I really like. I haven't asked her yet. She doesn't even know it, but I'm hopefully going to ask Courtney of Bent Knee to do an arrangement of something because I know the guys and girls of Bent Knee, and I think that would be really fun. Some other singers around here I think would freaking kill it. So anyway. Fun stuff in the works. I'm Pickle Rick. Yes, this is why nobody likes the fans of Rick and Morty. Will you ever go on a live tour? I'm sure a lot of people would love to see you. If I ever got a booking agent, that'd be great. Right now, I'm just focusing on the YouTube channel and things related to that. But at some point, yes, I will put together something. Here's to hoping. Join Prelude and Fugue and Shitpost on Facebook. I'm part of Music Engraver's shitposting. The shitposting of jazz to come. It's a really good one. Facebook group. So yeah, maybe I'm going to turn on slow mode. Although it seems like people aren't spamming. They're just like typing in questions. So, we're just gonna pick random ones. So what do you know about Brazilian music? Do you like it? What do you prefer? I know a little bit about Brazilian music. Bossa Nova is of course very popular in the jazz, world here in New York City and America. I know Caetano Veloso. I really like his stuff. I mean, his version of Cucurucu. I know it's in Spanish, but he is awesome. He is just fantastic. So yeah, some of the samba, partita alto, all that stuff. Good times. Good times. Again, I don't know a whole lot about it, but, you know, fun. Plastic or metal pick? Plastic, please. Any alternatives to Berkeley? It's too expensive. I'm looking to go to school for audio production and music composition. If you're in the United States, go to your state school. There's some few really good state schools if you have residency, like any of City College if you're in New York City and you have a New York residency. You also have, I don't know, University of Illinois and Champaign? I don't know. I forget. University of Illinois is good. State universities normally are pretty damn good, and they're really cheap if you have residency in the United States. Can you do a harmonic analysis of Despacito? Sure. If you're in the minor key, it's 1, flat 6, flat 3, flat 7, or if you're thinking about the relative major key, it's 6 minor, 4, 1, 5. It's a very, very straightforward song. I honestly don't know why it blew up as much as it did for like all the pop reggaeton. To me, Bailando is a better song. Like, just, it's, you know, dumb pop reggaeton, but I just like Bailando better. But Despacito, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I've played that on a bunch of weddings so far. It's actually vocally very challenging. One of the things that you don't really realize about Despacito is the singers hate singing it because it's just like, it takes a lot of work in order to learn how to do it. So weird that became like the new Macarena of this generation. But comments on TMZZ. I'm assuming that's Too Many Zoos. I know Too Many Zoos. They're cool guys. Yeah, Leo is quite ridiculous. I'm from Puerto Rico and I hate Despacito. I don't blame you. But, you know, I really don't blame you. Do certain genres age better than others? It really depends. I don't know. I'm not the best person to say. But have you listened to Mono Neon's EP and albums that you are a fan? I haven't recently. I haven't been checking him out recently, unfortunately. Maybe it's just the algorithm that controls everybody's lives has not been spamming Mono Neon's videos on my feed as they used to. So maybe I need to start clicking on his videos so the algorithm knows that I need to watch it more. So, dude, opinions on Harry Miri. He's cool. He's been called the Adam Neely of drums. I've seen that been called, but he's really not that. He's a much more seasoned professional, much more seasoned pro in the Nashville scene, who has the similar sort of YouTube sensibility, but he doesn't post that often because he's out busy, you know, being a drummer and professional drummer. He's great. Check his stuff out. Favorite rock bands? The Shags. Have you ever played stand-up bass? I have. I own one. It's in the corner. It's right over there. That's my stand-up bass. It doesn't get used very often. It has a kind of a warped fingerboard, so that's the unfortunate thing. It just kind of lives in the corner right now. Opinions on animals as leaders. Animals as leaders is awesome. I was just having a discussion about, like, I think on Twitter or somewhere. I don't ever use Twitter. It just doesn't interest me whatsoever. But somebody was asking, like, oh, we're the new guitar gods. Like, you know, there used to be Clapton and whatever, and people just don't pay attention, like, which is one of the more ridiculous things. The new guitar gods are clearly the gent metal guys, like Tosin Abasi. They're the new people that make guitar playing really cool and really inspiring for people who are first getting into guitar. So that is definitely he's definitely the new guitar god. Is it hard in New York City to compare with a lot of great musicians? Yes, it is. The only reason why I have a profile is because I make a YouTube channel and I can talk to people like you people. And you know, it's weird because I always, I think that I almost have two careers going. I got my New York City session bass player career going, and then I got my YouTube career going. And there's a definite rift in between the two of them. I'm not really known in the scene for my YouTube-ness. I mean, people know that I have a YouTube channel, and that's fine. That's great. But, you know, I kind of like to have my bass playing and my composition and just my general musicianship speak for itself. And I've worked very hard to, like, try and make sure that that's the case. And so, you know, people ask, like, oh, do you get more gigs because you have a YouTube channel? Nope. Never would even dream to ask because nobody gives a shit in New York. And that's really nice. People only care if you can do the gig, if you're a cool hang, and yeah, if you have something artistic to say. And I very much thrive in that environment. So yeah. Can we get more of those live composition videos? Yeah, that might occur at some point. Not tonight, but some point soon. Maybe, yeah, that will be something that'll be fun. Opinions on Knower, specifically their bass parts. I'm a huge Knower fanboy, as they probably know, and all my people go over to their videos and say, Adam Neely sent me. I'm sure that would be really annoying, but I'm a huge Knower fanboy. Really awesome. Lewis Cole is awesome. Some of the best music I've ever seen live. If I'm going to study jazz composition, what should I already be able to do from a theory or performance aspect? I don't know. Just it depends on what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, knowing your basic classical theory and counterpoint is very useful. Knowing stuff about like functional harmony, knowing like what a 2 chord is, what a 3 minor chord is, what a 5 chord is, and also knowing how to voice lead can be very useful before you start getting into the jazz stuff. But I don't know, the more stuff that you learn, the better. Gotta hit the hay, ZZZ. Sorry. Thoughts on Postmodern Jukebox? Postmodern Jukebox is really good at what they do, but it's essentially pop music. It's the equivalent of... It's honestly the equivalent of like doing like the weird jazz reharm arrangement of a pop song. It's not jazz. It's kind of... They don't really hit very hard. They're very digestible, those covers. They are very clickbaity. They're very internet design, and that's great. And it's really good for them for being able to do that. But it's pop music. It's not jazz music. And people often get that stuff kind of confused. Oh, super chat coming in from Daniel Diaz. Do you play Latin music, or are you overwhelmed by the sheer amount of different styles? Kind of overwhelmed. I know a lot about Latin music, I think, but whether or not it's practically applied, and I don't even say know a lot about Latin music. I just say maybe know a lot in comparison to my fellow American jazz musicians. That's a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, not really. Depends on what you mean by Latin music. Afro-Caribbean music I'm probably the most familiar with, just because salsa is pretty big here in New York. And, you know, I know like Fenia All-Stars, Eddie Palmieri, like all that good stuff. That's stuff that I've checked out a lot. But yeah, I mean, bass playing, I've played, there's a musical called In the Heights, which I subbed on a national tour of once. Lin-Manuel Miranda, it was his big show before Hamilton, and they brought in some great orchestrators for that. So that's the salsa, quote unquote, that I've played. Very authentic in that, you know, it was all of Lin-Manuel's like salsa buddies that wrote the stuff, but it's not actually salsa. So that is my stuff on Latin music. Why is Western music divided into 12 semitones instead of 5 or 8 or some other number? That's a great question, and something that I'm going to probably talk about in a future video, but it has a lot to do with the fact that 12 semitones, when you divide it equally, it ends up hitting all of the very consonant notes, or like being very close to just intonated intervals. So for example, when you divide the octave into 12, the 7th note is extremely close, just 2 cents off to the perfect just interval of 3 to 2, which is a perfect 5th. It's not quite exactly that, but it's extremely close. The same thing with when it's extremely close to the perfect 4th interval of a 4 to 3, and it's also reasonably close to some others, like the major 3rd, although it's kind of sharp. So the reason why we divide it into 12 is because it's pretty good. When you divide it into, I think 31 is the other one that's pretty good at approximating the same degree. There's also 19 tone and 22 tone equal temperament. But for our purposes, 12 is probably one of the best. And it's one of those things that I'm still learning a little bit about, but it's really fascinating. Anyway, more super chats, got to answer those. Do you dig Mary Halvorson? Yes, really weird stuff. If you're into like avant-garde jazz guitar, not, it's kind of hard to really describe Mary Halvorson. Check it out. It's weird, but she is really good at what she does. I am a big fan. Other things, love your channel for a long time. What color is the triple polychord in Clarity for you? Do chords have color for you? For me, it's light purple. Ooh, that's a good question. F sharp is green. F sharp major is very green because the sharp sharp sign is very green, and F is green, so it's a very green, like dark green sort of thing. Then over E is purple, then over D is kind of like a teal. So it's like, I see it like kind of like a stack of colors. That's kind of how I would visualize it, because my synesthesia is very, like I mentioned in my synesthesia video, is very idiesthetic. It's more the concept of the chord than the actual sound of it. So when I conceptualize the chord, it's the stack of colors. So that's fun. Ever played Super Smash Bros? Yes, I get my ass kicked every time. I'm not really a gamer because I know if I went down that route, I would become just as obsessed with gaming as I am with music. So I'm very, very glad for music to have saved me from gaming. Although gaming has now become a multi-billion-dollar industry, this esports thing. So maybe, I don't know, I could have made more money doing that. Who knows? I do like music a lot, though. All right. Can we jam sometime? Probably not. I don't know you. That's something that I get asked a lot, unfortunately. Hey, man, you want to start a band? And, I mean, without trying to, I've always been trying to figure out the best way of like letting somebody down, because, no, I don't. I don't. I'm too busy with everything else that I'm doing. If the right person came around, yes. If I'm a fan of your work, then yes, we can jam. But beyond that, there's so much other stuff I'm doing. Shy Guy Infinity, thank you for the donation, $5 super chat. Dude, this live Q&A is so killing. Hopefully. It's died down a little bit, thank God. I need to like figure out a way of like moderating these a little bit better. But yeah. People keep asking about the Esperanza Spalding. I think it's really cool. I think it's really fascinating. I haven't checked it out yet. And it's something that I want to emulate at some point. Maybe not. I mean, well, she's already doing it, but, you know, at some point, maybe for me, doing a 24-hour album, that might be fun. But, yeah, anyway, fan of King Gizzard and their microtonal music? Yes. I'm not really quite sure how they tune their instruments, but it's pretty cool. You know, the other microtonal person that I've been checking out is Sevish. He has this, Sevish is this microtonal drum and bass producer, and he does it really well, like really musically, really out there stuff, but he does it in this very, he has the aesthetic of like dance music down really well, and that's a surprisingly good pairing between the two ideas, like microtonal music and dance music. Really fascinating. Any tips on recording a band live in a small room? Deaden up the room as much as you can. Drums are going to bleed everywhere. If you can, get a DI for the bass, ideally a DI for the guitar too. Get a dynamic mic like this guy, the Shure SM7B. I recently got this, and it's blowing my mind. I really dig this mic. Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on it. So anyway, yeah, you want a dynamic mic because it is very directional and controls the bleed. So recording in a small room is not ideal, but yeah. Anyway, super chat from Sean Sucks at Guitar. Thank you, Sean. What is the best size of pick in your opinion? I just use regular heavy gauge. I don't really pay much attention. I don't play with a pick that often, so whenever I do, regular heavy gauge pick. I know they make these triangular picks for like bass. I've played with those. Those are fun. Those are weird, but anyway. Adam, how would you recommend to connect with people already gigging in the jazz scene? I don't want to be that guy to intrude on what they got going on already in university. Well, first of all, play with the people that you have in your university, because when you get in, you always want to get in on the ground floor with the people that are around you. That's ultimately what you want to have happen. Yeah, you want to do that and show up to jam sessions. Find a good jam session wherever you are, and that is that's probably what you want to be doing. So. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Gotta say hey to super chats. Jaden Chavez, thank you so much for your donation. And also, Shy Guy Infinity asks thoughts on the Diablo Swing Orchestra. They're cool. They're really fun. It's definitely in that whole like new age or new jack swing. No, not new jack swing. That's a hip hop thing. Like that swing revival from the '90s. They kind of like, to my ear, kind of fit within that vibe. Like with the Brian Seltzer Orchestra and all of that. Cool. Haven't checked out a whole lot of their stuff, but definitely like a fun interpretation of what swing music is, and very like it works pretty well most of the time from what I've heard. What bass setup do you recommend to play pop punk / metalcore live? I don't know really anything about metalcore or pop punk. The big thing I recommend for any sort of live setup is a good compressor, a good compression pedal, because a good compressor pedal just makes your tone sound professional, if that makes any sense. It also goes a long way to making the bass sit right in the mix. I don't know how metalcore mix bass really works, but a good compressor pedal and a good signal chain is awesome. Also having, an overdrive, some kind of overdrive like, dark glass pedal or something like that. I feel like dark glass has kind of taken over the bass overdrive world because what they do is so freaking good. I recently got one of them, and not being paid, by the way, but I do like dark glass. I'm going to be getting, hopefully soon, an Earthquaker Devices Dune, which is another overdrive thing, and that will be fun. Yeah, anyway, this has nothing to do. I'm just in pedal land right now because I've just been thinking about pedals. Pedals. How do you think? How need to grow up like a musician, like a bass player in New York City? What need to do? What the recipes? Sorry, I don't mean to roast you, Serge. It just sounded funny. Work hard. Work your fucking ass off. Don't expect to have any sort of social life. Yeah. Don't expect to have any social life, and even that is not really a recipe for success. And don't measure your success based upon gigs you get or money you make. Measure it on your ability to do what you want to do. And that is definitely the case no matter what you do. But especially as a musician, because there will always be somebody else who has better gigs. There's always going to be somebody else who is just higher on the totem pole. And if you constantly measure yourself up to that, you will be very depressed, especially in New York City, because there's always somebody way better than you, myself included. So many amazing bass players and musicians that I'm just like, you are better. You are amazing. I am not worthy. But I know what it is that I do well, and I basically, I don't worry about them because they can do what they do well. And yeah, anyway. Any advice on to broaden Delta, right? Sorry, I just want to make sure I get to all of these. Okay. Any advice on how to broaden your music listening palette? You seem to know many bands and different styles. You recommend doing this? Yeah, it mainly just comes from doing it a long time, knowing a variety of different styles. I don't go out and seek stuff except for when people people suggest things. I mean, it just comes through time, honestly. Yeah, I mean, advice on broadening your horizons. Ask for recommendations. I mean, YouTube comment sections, the internet is great for recommendations. I do watch like the Needle Drop, and I have been like checking some of the stuff that he recommends out, and most of it doesn't really do it for me, but at the same time I found some pretty awesome hidden gems. Fleet Foxes I didn't know anything about, and they're incredible. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I've like checked out some new music. Thoughts on Indian classical / jazz fusion? I'm a big fan, partly because a friend of mine, Shub Saran, has an amazing Indian classical plus jazz fusion band. It's mainly jazz fusion, but definitely there's some of that Indian stuff thrown in there. And the name of his band is Shub Saran. That's his thing. And he recently came out with an album. You should definitely check it out. It's called Hamira. And that is a great album. It's on Spotify. The mix is a little off, but the music is incredible. I love it. So I don't want to say the mix is a little off. I'm going to say this. It's a band that is much better experienced live. And if you're in New York on October 23rd, check out Shub Saran's Hamira at Rockwood Stage 1. Freaking killing band. Just unbelievable. Anyway. Hey, Adam, has the way that you associate colors with chords / notes evolved as you learned about music theory? How so? Not really. Not really. It just sort of has built on it because it's kind of like very elemental. Oh my gosh, Scott Vessel, thank you for the donation, $75. Jeez, thank you so much for that. Hit me up just on like my email or something like that, just so I can thank you properly. That's amazing. That's very, very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, wow. So, yeah, talking about other chords. Sorry, that's crazy. Thank you. Yeah, so it's very elemental. So like I have the different color associations from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everything is built on top of that. So if I learn a new scale, like for example, like a Byzantine scale, 1 flat, flat 2, 3, 4, 5, flat 6, 7, 1, something like that, or double harmonic major, whatever it's called. Those numbers don't really mean anything, but if I think about those numbers in relationship to a particular key, then yes, those numbers will have colors, and it builds on from from that, like that. Wow. Hey, Adam, what do you think of magnanimous dudes like Scott Vessel? Well, I'm very appreciative of what just happened right now. I think, you know, I rely upon I honestly have made a career, in one sense or another, of the generosity of strangers who believe in what I do, or believe in the music that I teach, and just in general the things that I talk about on YouTube. And you know, it's hard for me to really I don't know, like express as much as I need to, but it's essentially how I make my living now, and I'm very, very grateful. So thank you, Scott. What draws you to bass over other instruments? Well, bass is kind of like the real ultimate power. I really like how much control bass has over the performing ensemble. So, for example, when you play the note C, and this is something that I talk about sometimes, when you play the note C, the note C can, underneath a C chord, can sound like a C chord. But if you play the note A underneath a C chord, it can sound like an A minor 7 chord. And you can control the harmony in a very powerful way, but you can also control the rhythm. You can do so much with a bass guitar, also by dropping out. When you stop playing in a section, the effect of you coming back in is quite evocative when you do it live, especially when you have the bass blaring live. There's so much you can do to control the sound in a subtle but very powerful and meaningful way in a live ensemble. And I always come back to the bass. It is really my instrument. Yeah, it's awesome. Can you do more videos with the great Ben Levin? I'm intending to do that. Ben Levin is, I think they're just finishing up a tour or something like that. Hopefully sometime in October. Fingers crossed. Hey, Adam, what do you think of Lewis Nash? He teaches at ASU, and people say he's the shit. I actually don't know who Lewis Nash is, so I'm going to check him out at some point. Hey, Adam, I want to ask if you think the general public's lack of musical knowledge holds back / promotes ideas and tropes in any way that isn't as obvious. Hey, Adam, I wanted to ask if you think the general public's I mean, I don't really concern myself with the general public not knowing stuff about music. And if they want to learn more about music on my channel, that's great. And, you know, I do like to try and think about my channel as kind of like the, you know, what music popularization, like a science popularization is with like Neil deGrasse Tyson and whatever. I like to think of like, hey, my channel is kind of like that. Ish. That's where it's headed at some point in the future. Right now, it's just like whatever random stuff I want to throw up. But, you know, I don't really worry so much about the general public's knowledge or lack thereof. That's not really something that I concern myself with a whole lot, and not something that I worry about. Yeah, I know a lot of people are worried about that, and I think that worrying too much about it becomes almost like a social status. Like you feel superior to other people that don't know as much about music as you, and you feel like, oh, look at how dumb everybody is. Why can't they know as much as me? And I think that's not a particularly worthwhile endeavor. So anyway, Emilio Srugo, thank you so much for your donation. I'm studying jazz on the sax, but I got bored of listening to the same stuff, Coltrane, etc. How can I get the interest and emotion on jazz back? Well, it really depends on what you want to listen to. I mean, I would suggest somebody like, I mean, Michael Brecker, of course. He's definitely in the Coltrane like side of things. What kind of sax are you playing? That's a question that I think you should ask yourself. What is the kind of sax? Troy Roberts is a cool sax player that I dig. You know, Steve Coleman is another one. These are modern jazz players that definitely approach the instrument in different ways than Coltrane ever did. Yeah, I mean, Dave Liebman is, if you want to get weird, check out Dave Liebman, especially his solo stuff. He is an absolute master of his craft, and it gets wild. It really depends on what you want and what you like. So check out more sax players, but maybe check out like guitar players or something, another instrument that you don't normally listen to, and that actually can be very inspiring also. Hey Adam, how universal do you think the impact of modal mixture in an otherwise diatonic piece could be even among non-musicians? I think it can be very powerful. Any sort of chromatic interest, any sort of change to the chromatic palette can be very, very, very powerful. You know, even if it's unconscious. You know, our ears are inundated with the major scale all the time, every day, just in the background. And anytime that you hear a little bit of a chromatic tweak to it, your ear will pick it up, even if you aren't musically trained. It will happen. What books are you reading right now? Joe Morris, thank you for the donation. Let me, oh, I don't know where they went. Well, I am reading a couple things. I just finished reading Groove, A Phenomenology of Music. Oh, actually, hold on one second. There was a book that I just started. The W.A. Matthew, Harmonic Experience, Tonal Harmony from Its Natural Origins to Modern Expression. W.A. Matthew is like, if you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy my philosophical escapades, which are still very much based in science and practical application, this guy is for you. Oh my God. Yeah, I've been really getting into his books recently, and he's like, don't know why I wasn't exposed to him earlier, but he is definitely like amazing. So check that out if you're interested in reading anything. Sorry guys, I'm gonna try and get to all the super chats and stuff. Hey Adam, Pharmaceutical Musics donated. Thank you so much. When I discovered your Exigence MXE movements, I listened to them over 100 times as a daily song. You ever plan to create something similar again or bring back Exigence/Mass Extinction Event at some point in the future? Yes. The amount of things that I have going on just with YouTube, just churning out stuff week to week is pretty, you know, everything that I do. And any sort of projects like a big band project would require kind of suspending my YouTube channel, unfortunately, for a little bit. And, you know, it really depends on the timing of everything. So, you know, I do want to be releasing things that are like still like good and awesome all the time, but maybe I'm going to scale back the length of some of my videos. So just to, you know, make sure that I can keep posting other things. But, you know, in the meantime, I did work on a big band project recently. That's really cool. It's going to come out recent. I wasn't the person who wrote the music. I just produced it, but it was our assistant produced it. It's Brian Kroc's Big Heart Machine. It's I'm going to write it in here. Brian Kroc, Big Heart Machine. It is really cool. It's music that it's music that is really weird and forward-thinking. There's some irrational time signatures. I had a lot of fun on it. So anyway, greetings from Finland. Love your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Akustai Sarjarvi. Sorry if I mispronounced it, but thank you for the donation. Mohammed Tarek writes, hi, Adam. For someone who can't go study composition at a university for now, what are some ways for me to go learn about it and get better at it? Good question. Getting better at composition, the thing that I always like to say is try and imitate whatever it is that you're hearing. And I like getting a music notation program just to screw around with is incredibly useful. That's how I started learning composition, is I just got a cracked copy of Sibelius. I later bought it. Don't worry. Don't put the police on me. But I later got a copy of Sibelius, and I just screwed around in it. So that is, that is how I started learning composition. Eventually, I started buying some composition textbooks. I got, let's see, Jazz Composition by Ted Pease. That was a book about jazz composition. It really depends on what kind of thing that you want to write, but I would try and emulate whatever it is that you like listening to and like writing in that music notation program. And, you know, if it sucks in the beginning, that's okay. But just by doing it, learning by doing can be very, very useful if you don't have a tutor. So that's getting something like MuseScore. MuseScore, you don't have to torrent anything. You can just download it. It's free. It's an open source music notation program, but that is a really fun way of doing it. Talk Good English, thank you for the super chat. Hey, your cat looks a lot like my cat. Yes, my cat is, hold on, let's get some cat action. Yeah, we're gonna bring the cat over and annoy him. He really does not like being picked up, so. Ugh. All right. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. You can do it. You can do it. Come on. You're just complaining earlier. You're just talking earlier. Okay. 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 Go away. So that is the cat. He is meowing in D. Oh yeah, he's expanded his repertoire recently. Love your videos. Curious. Thanks for the donation, Nikolai Sergio Comi. Love your videos. Are you for hire as car as recording bass parts go? No, I'm not. I used to do that, but it became a little bit of a hassle. Little bit of a hassle, so I don't really do that so much anymore. But yeah, sorry. Get home. Thank you everybody, by the way, for the super chats. Very, very grateful. Garrison Peters writes, "Hey Adam, lately I've been having trouble just putting myself on a practice routine. I want to break myself, but I don't know how. Do you know how to get someone into a routine?" I mean, that's more of just a discipline thing, honestly. I would say start small. Start with something manageable, like 10 minutes a day. And just make sure that you do that no matter what. And the more that you get into the habit of it, the more that you will be able to do it. That's just a life thing. That's not just even a music thing. And I started running because I felt like I was a fat ass recently. So I've been trying to like keep a schedule with that, and that's been a pain in the ass. But you know, after doing it for a few weeks, like a week and a half, I now like feel like I can get into the routine a little bit more. And that's, you know, definitely the same thing with a practice routine. So anyway, okay. So, wow, so many of these. Okay. Daniel Diaz writes, "Do you think there's a reason why there are very few baritone bass singers in pop music as opposed to tenors?" Yeah, I think there is a reason. I think that the male voice is very difficult to mix and pierce through in a mix. And, you know, pop music is very, very much about yelly high notes. And it's always been that way. Maybe not always been that way, but it certainly has been in the past like 30 years. And baritone and bass singers just don't have those notes. That's not like, doesn't sound good for them. The same thing for altos, like female alto singers. Absolutely incredible voices, absolutely incredible altos that I know, but it's very difficult for them to like find a niche in pop music because that's just not how pop music is structured. So it's unfortunate, but it's you know, country music definitely has some amazing baritone and bass singers in country music, but not in pop music, unfortunately. Oh my gosh, thank you for the donations. I'm gonna try and get through everything. Okay. I bet you don't even play bass, you ding dong. I just had $10 burning a hole in my pocket and it felt like throwing your way. Thank you so much. Next time you get a healthy organic snack, I know I got it for you. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm going to go to the bodega soon and get a healthy organic snack. Daniel Diaz. Okay, I see. Thank you for the donation. Nakul Argawal. Thank you for the donation. I think is that yen? What is that? Am I like an idiot for not knowing what that denomination sign is? All right, well, anyway, thank you. What is that? I don't even know. Rupee. Oh, rupee. Okay, that makes more sense. Well, thank you. All right, got through all the super chats. Go back to everything. Thank you, by the way, for the donation. Okay, so I've been playing guitar for 10 to 15 years and know how to read tabs and stuff, but don't know anything about music theory and some chords. Do you have something to guide me? Music theory and some chords, something to guide me. Michael New's videos are a really good introduction to music theory. Just type in Michael New. He has some great stuff. Also, Ben Levin's Music Theory from the Ground Up. Both are fantastic YouTube resources from really interesting personalities, great teachers. So check that out if you're brand new to everything. Your thoughts on Eric Whitacre's music? It's kind of a meme in some circles, but, you know, it's cool. I like it. I actually do like his music, but I feel kind of guilty liking it because he's like shat on so much. Did you overlap with Matt Garska at Berkeley? I did. We went to Berkeley at the same time. We didn't really know each other, but yeah, I saw a calf show with him. He played in a band called the Two Man Trio, I think. It was like him and then a bass player that played like keys and bass at the same time. It was cool. He's fucking beast. He comes from more of a gospel sort of background. So anyway, ever thought of learning three-finger right hand bass technique? Yeah, for a while, especially when I was at Berklee, I was actually using three-finger technique quite religiously. Strict alternation of three fingers. So always ring, middle, index, just over and over and over again. And I got pretty quick. I felt like I could play really fast. And honestly, when I go back to it, I feel like I can play it. But I didn't really see any practical application for it, to be 100% honest. It was just kind of something that I could do. So, Jake Wyatt writes, I struggle being too critical of my songwriting. I want to use concepts from you /Beato/Collier and still be tasteful. I want to use any help on getting past that. The more you do, the more you write, the better. The thing that songwriting is like playing an instrument. You're going to kind of suck at the beginning. But people kind of forget this because they get used to like being really good at their instrument. But songwriting is an entirely different thing, and you have to just do it a lot. I'm very much in favor of the shoemaker analogy. The shoemaker analogy is a composer's method of writing music. And, you know, a shoemaker gets up in the morning every day and makes shoes. Same thing, a composer should get up every morning, every day and make music. Don't wait for divine inspiration. Just start. And if it's crap, it's crap. But you know that it's crap, and you can try again. And maybe next time you'll find some nugget that you like, and then you'll know to repeat that sort of thing. So just do it. The more that you do it, the better it is that your stuff will become. So anyway, Theo Peters writes, and thank you for the super chat, $15. Man, whoo, super lucky. Thank you everybody for donating. This is great. Really appreciate it. Love your stuff. Any recommendations on digital audio workstations, audio interfaces, and equipment for doing covers on YouTube? Also, do you know anything about Moogs, especially the Sub 37? This is a great question. Okay, so recommendations on digital audio workstations. I use Ableton Live. Tons of people I know use Logic. Logic is a little bit more friendly, user-friendly, but it's still pretty good. I dig this SM7 a lot. It has a lot more forgiving EQ curve than my other mic that I was using forever, which was the AKG 214, which is great for vocals, but when it's not super great for voiceover work. So I always had to EQ it, and it was always kind of weird. So I use this. I use a Steinberg. Let's see if you can't see this. A Steinberg UR44, which is this guy down here. Shout out to Earthquaker Devices, by the way. That is a company that I have done business with before, and they're cool guys. And I'm rambling right now. It just sounds like I awkwardly tried to do a product push, but that's honestly not what just happened. But yeah, Steinberg UR44, fantastic interface, great for everything. Yeah, so okay. Also, do you know anything about Moogs, especially the Sub 37? The Sub 37 is something that I see a lot. Like Evan Marion uses it. Also, my friend Marty Fowler uses it. Basically, a lot of bass players are now having to play key bass, and the Sub 37 is kind of like the default key bass for a lot of people. Something that I've been like looking to pick up eventually. I mean, it's kind of pricey, but I have never gotten a chance to play it. But you know, because everybody uses it, I figure that it must be a good thing to use. So anyway, yeah, so that's my equipment. That's what I think. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, everybody, by the way, for the donations. Nakul forgot to ask his question in the last donation. I just want to ask if there's still a scope for musicians to really revolutionize music as we've seen in the past with the emergence of new genres. Yes, always yes. And then when you're living it in the moment, it doesn't feel like there's some sort of revolution, but there definitely has been a revolution. There's been an absolute revolution in how music is conceived, and that usually comes from electronic dance music, just the way that... at least in my experience, the way that energy shifts from one section to another. There's this thing that's been like, I guess it really is pervasive, the idea of the quote drop. Basically the energy of building in a section dropping for like some sort of like section which is like quiet and then coming in hard in something new. That, I guess, general idea didn't really exist in the same way that it did in recent years, like maybe 5-10 years in all kinds of music. And now you see it everywhere. in subtle ways, in powerful ways, but it's definitely everywhere. And music is something that is constantly evolving. It's something that doesn't sit still. And as new technologies develop, we're going to see more and more interesting music. I'm very, very hopeful and very excited about the future of music. And I feel like it's easy to get despondent when you hear like pop radio. But pop radio has changed quite a lot in the past 5 to 10 years. So even that changes, and even that, new things come and go, new fads come and go. And yeah, I think there's a lot. I think there's music there's a bright future ahead of music. So anyway, Shy Guy Infinity, thank you for the donation. I'm in high school and I've been trying to start a band, and I think, and I'm an okay singer, a clarinetist, a guitarist, and a keyboardist, but I can't seem to start a band, even though like half the people I know are musicians. Well, why? The question is, why can't you start a band? Find people to start a band, and it might come down to, people, you not being confident enough, or like not having, maybe it's this. The best bands I ever were among my friends. And when I started my first band in middle school, it was just a bunch of my friends who were like, let's start a band. I already play guitar. Can you play bass, Adam? I'm like, okay, what's a bass? Like, oh, it's the bigger guitars. Like, oh, okay. And that's basically, how it started. Find friends to collaborate with. When you start a band, it can feel like a very personal thing, and you want to have the right sort of chemistry with people. It can be really tricky when you're in high school, or if there's social anxiety, or you feel like you're socially awkward, and going up to people and like asking, hey, you want to start a band with me? That is something that, I definitely felt in high school a lot. I definitely felt in middle school a lot, but I always found the people who were in the same sort of socially awkward boat as I was, and I decided I wanted to start a band with those people. And that's always going to be the case. You find the socially awkward people you want to start a band with, and that's kind of where I still am right now. It's just that we've developed a little bit more in the way of social interaction and social skills since high school, but it's always the same sort of type. So good luck. Good luck is what I have to say. I'm sorry I don't have any more specific piece of advice. Okay, Anton Nielsen writes, ever thought of collaborating with Evan somehow? Evan Marion, yes. Evan Marion is a fantastic musician. I don't know how I would collaborate with him. I might need to think about that. I would jump at that opportunity, but he is a bass player that plays bass way better than I do. So I don't know exactly what that would look like, but yeah, Evan Marion would be fantastic. He is awesome. Danica Inc. writes, what makes instrument popular? I'm a beginning French horn player, and I'm so sad it's underused outside of philharmonic orchestras. Well, Danica, that is an interesting question. Well, I think polyphony has a lot to do with it. Polyphony meaning the ability to play more than one note, and that's why piano has been super popular over the years, and then why in modern years it's been guitar, and then now I guess it's electronic music or whatever. The ability to play with more than one note is a very important ability. So to make it so that you can play something and then accompany yourself with that note, like chordal instrument like guitar or piano, that's been the case for a long time. Now, French horn is not popular because of a couple of other reasons. It never was part of a jazz tradition, and I feel like instruments which were part of a jazz and band tradition, like marching band tradition from the turn of the 20th century, ended up being more popular nowadays. So that's trumpet, that's saxophone, that's I wouldn't say trombone because trombone's not really popular, but those are the other kinds of instruments that have become popular in terms of the brass instruments. Like violin has always been popular because it's incredibly versatile, and it also has a degree of polyphony. You can play more than one note. So that's my thought on why an instrument might be popular or not. I forget where I got that idea, but I think that is a very powerful way of understanding why instruments become popular. French horn is a beautiful, beautiful instrument. It's an incredibly powerful instrument. When you got 4 French horns, like in an orchestra playing some massive forte melody, it's like, yeah, it's so cool. But it hasn't found its niche in other musics, and maybe you're going to be the person to find it in a different music. But I really like the sound of French horn, but it isn't as popular because it doesn't have polyphony, unfortunately. So, Anton Nielsen writes, any opinions on the music of anime openings? Fucking epic, all of them. I don't watch that much anime, but I did like, I guess season 2 of Attack on Titan finished recently, and man, it's just like it's just so epic. It's so extra. I think the term that the kids use these days. It's so extra. It's so OD. Some New York City slang right there. It's OD. It's fantastic. I love it. Brandon Blackwell writes, what benefits you most going to a good music school as opposed to just being self-taught? Never enjoyed guitar lessons, and I'm doing okay on my own. If you're doing okay on your own, that's fine, but going to a good music school means that you are going to be in an environment which puts you with like-minded musicians who are extremely dedicated to the study of music, and going to music school can be very useful for that reason. Going to music school was an amazing experience for me. I fully recommend it if you have that sort of drive and that sort of work ethic. That is the main purpose, is being immersed, being in an immersive environment. And if you're doing okay on your own and just playing guitar on your own, that's fine. But chances are you're not in an immersive environment unless you're already in like a touring band or something like that. That's a pretty damn immersive environment. And that, if you're in a touring band, that can serve the same function as being in music school in some regards. But yeah, that's why you go. Anyway, do you think auditioning for music school with Donna Lee on bass is a good idea? I love playing that song. Yes. The big thing that I like saying about music school auditions is you should play something that you do really well, because nothing is going to impress judges. Like, nothing is going to impress any judge ever. I've been on the judging side of competitions, auditions. I've worked the Berklee auditions as a scholarship student. So basically I was just like shuttled people in and out of like audition rooms, and I could hear the judges talking with the judges. Nobody is ever going to be impressed with anything that you do. Nobody's going to be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Just know that, unless you are like wunderkind and you already know that you are that amazing. What's more impressive for a judge is whether or not somebody nails something and is super confident in what they do and absolutely nails something. So Donna Lee is great, but it's very tricky. It's very difficult to like really play with any degree of knowledge of the history of the song, of what the notes in the song mean and the head mean. For example, I bet you, if you just heard Donna Lee, you don't know that Donna Lee is a contrafact. It's basically a cover of an older song called Indiana. That's something that is kind of necessary in order to know how Donna Lee is phrased, or how like Charlie Parker phrases Donna Lee, or how Jaco Pastorius phrases Donna Lee, or how different musicians phrase Donna Lee. There's so much involved in like really internalizing a piece of music. So if you can play it, if you can play the notes, that's great, that's cool. But a judge is really going to be impressed if they can hear the musical knowledge in what you play. It's kind of a tricky thing to define, but that's what I would be impressed in. So anyway, it is 12:30 at night. I am drinking coffee. Thank you for the donation, Foonfire. I'm starting/moving school in Portland for jazz studies on upright/electric bass. Any advice for doing things when I get there, or music in general? I'm starting moving school in Portland for jazz studies. Jazz studies, go to jam sessions if they're local jam sessions outside of school. That's something that I think is great. Talk to as many people as you can, jam with as many people as you can, really get immersed in the environment. Like I said, music school is all about being immersed in an environment with people who are like-minded, and that is the benefit. So why is it so bright behind you? Lol, is it? Oh yeah. The contrast on this webcam is not great. I have like these uplights that I use for like my filming. It looks kind of nice when I have the actual nice camera and stuff. So I have one of those uplights on right now, and I guess this camera just does not like the exposure on it. Oh well. What do you think of dubstep? Dubstep is freaking awesome. Dubstep was actually kind of formative for me in a lot of ways. Like, you know, I got through Berkeley, got my jazz composition degree. Like, okay, cool, whatever. But I always liked a more like aggressive raw sound. And there was a band called Jersey Band. I'm not sure if they're doing anything anymore, but I really liked just like I grew up on nu metal. And, you know, I was trying to figure out a way of like reconciling that aggressiveness with like the jazz composition chops I learned at Berkeley. And moved to New York. And all of a sudden in 2010, 2011, there's this thing called dubstep that everybody's going crazy for. And I'm like, this is cool. This is just obnoxious. This reminds me of my new metal youth. I want to learn more about this. And then Nathan Navarro started his things with like the Hot Hand, and then the Pimpernel cover of Scary Monsters and Night Sprites came out, and I was like, oh, I can do this live. That's awesome. So it was very influential in a lot of ways in terms of how I thought about music, sounds, and, you know, like everything obnoxious, the fad died pretty quickly, and I'm now left with my fond memories of it. And I will look back very fondly on the summer of 2011 and the summer of 2012, the golden year of dubstep. And then, yeah, it came like a shooting star, and now it's gone. Adam seems to be doing a lot of Simpsons voices tonight. I guess that's when I like talk like that. I don't know. I can't talk. How is approach to improvisation? Approach to improvisation. Approach it as if you are speaking using a vocabulary that you have learned your entire life. When you improvise, it's the same thing as when you're improvising speech, like I am right now. So it's important to learn a vocabulary of licks in order to improvise from. Favorite album of 2017 so far? Geez. Have I listened to... I mean, did Damn come out? I haven't really listened to a whole lot of albums, like, straight all the way through. Like, I guess Damn was the only one that I listened all the way through recently. The new Little Dragon was pretty cool. The Sevish, I know this producer that I just was talking about, Sevish, released an album that was cool. I haven't been listening to a whole lot of albums straight through. Let's see, what else have I really dug? Yeah, that's all I can think about right now. Let's see. Would you ever collaborate with 12 Tone? Yeah, that would be really dope if we did something. I don't really know a whole lot about the guy. I know his videos, they're great. But whenever you have a channel which is more about just one thing, music theory, and has a particular style, it's interesting. You associate more with the style, and then it's not so much a personality. Like, you don't feel connected to the personality. Whereas somebody like Rick Beato, you're like, oh, hey, that's Rick Beato, and he's talking about it, and hey, that's Rick Beato, and you recognize Rick Beato. But if I saw the 12-tone guy on the street, wouldn't know his name. I wouldn't know anything about him. It's the same thing with me. Like, you see me talking about music and whatever, and you associate my face and my personality with it. But yeah, it's interesting. It's something that I've been thinking about recently. Anyway. Oh, by the way, guys, I was been doing this live stream, and I meant to announce some things, and I completely forgot about it. I'm starting a Teespring store, I guess. You know, everybody says that you're supposed to sell merchandise, man. That's how you make your money. So I was trying to think of like things that people on my channel would buy and think are stupid, and what I would wear. I'm definitely going to buy this from my own Teespring store, but I had some mock-ups made. I don't know when this is going to go live, but this is one of them. Hold on. This is let's see. So see if you can see this. This is the lick on a t-shirt. So that's one of the mock-ups. Let's find some more. This is just going to be bass on a t-shirt. That might work. That's a fun one. What's another one? This is the one I'm the most excited about. Pro tip, make sure the vocals and the synth and vocals are in the same key. That one I'm going to be probably wearing a lot on my channel. So, and I also have one, I haven't got it made up, but just one that just says A equals 432. That's going to be a fun one. So anyway, I'm pumped about these shirts. If anybody, you know, has any ideas, I think the A432 one is going to be my most excited one, but you know, anyway. Hey, Adam, forgot to mention this in my donation earlier, but I live right around the corner from Berkeley. Hi from your old stomping grounds. Hey, how's it going? Berkeley is great. I want the lick shirt. I thought my Mac speakers were fucked up or something. Would buy shirts. I'm glad. I want to try and make things that are fun, and I would love to, I would wear myself, and I will wear myself quite frequently. Yeah, that's the problem with the A432 one, is people would wear it unironically, and that would be kind of a problem. So, oh well. Mile run. I don't know what that means. Mile run. Did I miss a super chat? Oh, shit. My bad. Harrison Richter. I'm in Portland. I'm looking to do music professionally, and moving to New York is tempting. Should I move? How to live affordably there? Ooh. How to live affordably there? Live way deep in the boroughs. So Jackson Heights, deep Brooklyn, not even Bushwick anymore. You can't really afford that. So Flatbush maybe. Live with a ton of roommates. Don't expect to make any money making music anytime soon. So do some other kind of job while you start building a network. It's tricky, man. New York is becoming less and less of a town that you can actually afford to live in. When I moved in 2010, I was able to live in South Williamsburg, and I got an insane deal on an apartment because I knew a guy and blah, 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 blah. And I lived there for 5 years. And South Williamsburg, if you know Williamsburg, it's more expensive than, it's like the most expensive neighborhood outside of like Tribeca or anything like that. It's absurd how expensive it is there. And I was living there for a while, and then I got pushed out for a variety of reasons. But yeah, you got to live with a ton of roommates and expect to have really crappy quality of life, but you'll be living the dream, hopefully. Hang out at Smalls a lot. Okay, yeah. Hey, I forgot to mention this in my earlier donation, but I'm made of atoms just like you. What's up with that? But you're not made out of atoms. God, fuck you, Adam. Okay. Daniel Marabel, thank you for the donation, asks, hey, Adam, why not keep B sharp and E sharp and only count up to F sharp, i.e. keep it to 12 notes? Now we're talking. It's a great question. It's something that's difficult to really answer, but the best way I can say is there's a rule in naming scales. There's a hard and fast rule that is followed no matter what, and it is because that it makes life a lot easier in the long run, and that is every major scale that you ever have has to have all of the notes alphabetically no matter what. It always has to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's it. You can never repeat a note. It's always A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It can't be A, B, C, C, E, F, G, like that. And what you do after that is then you add accidentals. So for example, like if you have the key of F, it's going to be, no matter what, you're going to start on F, and it's always going to be F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And well, the key of F, in order to get the whole half formula going, you need to think, okay, well, I need to change that B to a B flat. So F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. That's what an F major scale is. Well, say we have an F sharp major scale. So it's always going to be F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, we start with F sharp, then up a whole step, G sharp, up a whole step, A sharp, up a half step, B, up a whole step, C sharp, up a whole step, D sharp, up a whole step. It's going to have to be an E sharp, because remember that alphabetical rule is sacrosanct. We're never going to break that alphabetical rule. So from D, it has to go up a whole step to E sharp. Otherwise, you're going to have D sharp, F sharp, and that completely screws everything up whenever you start like trying to build chords and do other things with the scale. So we have to have B sharp, and we have to have E sharp, and we also have to have weird things like B double flat in order to keep things alphabetical no matter what. So it's kind of tricky, and you don't really get the whole gist of the system, but if you think alphabetically, it always has to go in alphabetical order. You start to understand why we have things like B sharp and E sharp, and also things like F flat and C flat. So, good question. If I tap Adam Neely, it's orange on your screen. Yes. Jazz bass or precision bass, and what are your thoughts for on the two? Greetings from Mexico. Keep up the good work. A equals Adam Neely. I might go on one. A equals Adam Neely. Jazz, I prefer precision bass, believe it or not. I do like both of them. I am a Fender fanboy in some regards. I think they're really versatile basses. I like the P bass, even though it seems strange. There's something about it that is just a little bit more gut punching. The staccato on a P bass, it feels a little bit nicer to me. So jazz basses are great too, because honestly, jazz basses in some regards feel like they're almost cheating for like soloistic stuff, because like, oh my God, this sounds so great. This is burpy jazz tone. But then once you apply the same sort of mindset to a P bass, everything comes, you have to like finesse it a little bit more, almost. It's hard to really describe. And I think the best argument for a P bass comes through the bass playing of Tim LaFave. Just check out Tim LaFave. Tim LaFave. I think that's how you do it. Something like that. Absolutely amazing bass player, and honestly my biggest inspiration for having a P bass. So yeah. Is a minor in music worth it, or should I attempt to learn music theory on its own? I'm a bassist and comp sci major. Hi from Williamsburg. Oh hey. Well, it really depends on what your goals are. I think a music minor will definitely help. I mean, give you a better appreciation for what goes into music theory. I honestly don't. Sorry. Probably should drink some water instead of coffee. Great. Okay, yeah. So, I think a minor is great. I think it will definitely give you a more bigger appreciation for music theory and what goes into it. I don't think that it's 100% necessary, but it will expose you to a lot of the general ideas that you can then like follow through on, like voice leading and functional harmony and chords and scales and the building blocks of music, which, you know, can last a lifetime. I feel like just having learned it in school will greatly enrich your knowledge of music, greatly enrich your ability to connect with what it is that you're hearing. So I think it is worth it. I think if you have the time in your schedule, because I know computer science is very busy, and and music is also a very busy major. So if you have the time, pursue it, of course. I'm a music guy. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't pursue a degree in music. So Fudge Sauce writes, do you have any tips other than play more for how to navigate the fingerboard without staring at it all the time? Play more. Don't stare at it all the time. Play a lot of arpeggios. Play a lot of arpeggios, especially 2-octave arpeggios on the bass guitar. So you're forced to shift without looking. That's how I worked at it a lot. Play a lot of arpeggios, a lot of major arpeggios, 2-octave major, G major arpeggio, 2-octave B major arpeggio, 2-octave A flat minor arpeggio. As much as you can and as many registers as you can without looking, and that will definitely help out, because that really forces you to come to grips with your shifting. And also play a lot more. Do that. Oh my God. How do you drink your coffee? Black. Like I like my men. How do you drink your tea? Strong and bitter. Like I like my women. Seems like a lot of people are in favor of a shirt that says, "Give me that luscious jazz." That might be in the horizon. I have an unofficial Berklee audition with Steve Bailey in a week. Congratulations. Any minor suggestions you have? All major prep done? Side note, I'm a freshman. No, I mean, if you feel confident in whatever your prepared piece is, that's great. I think the prepared piece is the most important thing. Maybe, you know, just come in super prepared. The more prepared on your prepared piece you are, the better a chance it will go. If you got an unofficial audition with Steve Bailey, if you just like, hey, I want to audition with him personally, you're already probably have a good shot of getting in. You know, it always comes down to who you know in the business, and that's great for you. So, yeah, practice a lot. Never stop practicing. Will this be available offline? Hopefully. We'll see. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have phlegm. This is crappy. I have phlegm. I have phlegm. Talk about base models in a video. Okay, at some point I might. I'm not really a gear guy so much, so Maybe I'll go into a bass shop at some point, just play basses, and a non-gear guy's approach to playing nice basses, I guess. I don't know. So maybe at some point. Andre Crouch, I don't know who that is. Sorry. Hey, Adam. Thanks, Burke, for the donation. Is there a rhythmic equivalent for extreme reharmonization? Yes, there is. Extreme polyrhythmicness, I guess. Yeah, you can go down a pretty insane rabbit hole with polyrhythms, and that's kind of the equivalent of extreme reharmonization is polyrhythms. And, you know, I might do a video on polyrhythms at some point. I'm doing actually a talk at something called The Loop, I think it's called, or just Loop. Ableton is putting on a festival of all of these, like, musicians and educators and DJs and electronic music artists and all this stuff in Berlin in November, and I'm like going to be a presenter on it, I guess, and I'm really excited for that. But I'm going to give this like 30-minute speech on polyrhythms, and it's hopefully going to blow people's minds. I'm going to hopefully like salvage some of that material and turn it into a video and do some other stuff with that. But like polyrhythms are definitely the extreme reharmonization of rhythm. So anyway, what can I use to improve my rhythm skills? Check out my video, Improve Your Rhythm, specifically designed for people like you. The end result is you should probably count out loud. That's usually how I do it. My cat is in my lap, and she's purring way harder than your cat. My cat, here, well, I'm not going to annoy him, but, yeah, he doesn't purr that loud. He just sits on the couch in my videos all day. You Eyeball donated. Thank you so much for the donation. 20 bucks, man. Very, very generous. Thank you, everybody, by the way, who has donated. So he asks, hey, Adam, can you please make me a t-shirt that states, until next time, bass? That might happen. I feel like I'm just going to do a shirt that just says bass on it. You know, I feel like that's more my brand. But maybe if other people can suggest like other catchphrases, other memes. I just like bass and the lick. I think that's cool. Until next time, that might be, I don't know. That's more of a catchphrase. I've always been told that whenever you merchandise something, you should make something that's universally appealing for people who don't know my videos, but for people who know my videos, or you know, like it's immediately obvious. And it's a big shirt that just says bass, like people's like, oh, that's probably an Adam Neely shirt, and then that can be like a thing that people talk about. So this is just stuff that like when I've been reading up on like what you should do when you create t-shirts. So anyway, hey man, you got to check out some of this stuff. That's something. I prefer the simple bass. Yeah, I do too. Until next time on the bass. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Hey, Adam, what's going on with the course you did for Scott's bass lessons? It's coming out in December. Yeah, it takes forever for those things to get edited. It's coming out in December, I think is the latest. I honestly forget what I talked about. I just rambled for a while. It's not going to be that great. I hope that they edited it into something that's reasonable. Yeah. So I'm excited for when it does come out, though. Until next time, bass works great always. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. Seems like there's it's half and half. For what people like for a t-shirt. Hey Adam, how would you recommend balancing a serious relationship with a career in music performance? Oh, that is a hard question, and I'll get to Mohammed's super chat in 1 second, but I do want to answer this. It is difficult. It is very difficult. And, you know, I've been dating a musician for the past, I guess, 4 or 5 years. And even though that, you know, she is a musician also and understands the extreme time commitments and weird things that come with being a musician, it definitely like puts a strain on the relationship to be focused on music and all the stuff that I do more than the relationship. And that is something that is extremely easy to fall into, that this belief that music is the more important thing in your life versus the relationship. And it's something that I'm just like still trying to figure out and still trying to balance with my girlfriend. And, you know, both of us have our careers. Both of us have musical careers. And it's something that is honestly, yeah, not easy. It's definitely not easy. Like I said earlier in the chat, your social life takes a pretty serious hit when you do this, because in order to do it right, in order to like really envelop yourself in the music, you kind of have to make it a priority. And that's just the sad thing about it. So anyway, Muhammad Tarek, thank you for the super chat. Just wanted to say thanks for your work on this channel. It's incredibly helpful. And I think I speak for everyone when I say we really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate everybody's continued support. This is really fun for me. So thank you so much for watching and being a supporter. I saw something. I saw a question earlier. Do Patreon patrons get early access to the store? I might make that a perk for Patreon patrons. I think Patreon patrons deserve that, and I think for a couple people, I don't know like how Teespring will work, but I'll probably like buy a bunch of shirts from Teespring and then just send them to patrons at some point. Because like I'm not ordering shirts and then they're coming to my apartment and then I'm sending them out. Like Teespring takes care of everything, which basically means I get a lot less money, which is unfortunate, but it's an easier way for people to get it like now, because I'll just send it in the design and then they send off the t-shirt. So I'll probably buy a bunch of shirts and send them to patrons, but even if you're not one of those patrons who gets a shirt, I'll give you early access to the store for sure. And also early access for designs, because I do like the idea of designs. So anyway, you made a video on Nietzsche and his theory on Apollonian and Dionysian thought, or Apollonian. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Apollonian/Dionysian thought. What are your thoughts on him as a composer? I know he was a composer. I haven't listened to any of his music though. So Nietzsche's composition, I've heard that it's okay. I mean, but, you know, he's known as a philosopher, not as a composer, and that's probably a good reason. Analog or digital, really depends. Make it a Patreon perk to design one shirt. Maybe that's an option. I'm trying to, like, keep Patreon perks to a minimum, and it's just so that I don't get behind on anything, and that's one of the things that I'm afraid of. If I promise too much, I won't be able to deliver as much. So I'm going to try and, like, keep Patreon perks to things like a monthly bonus video. I've been regularly delivering a monthly bonus video, and I'm going to hopefully up that to 2 bonus videos. But for right now, it's been 1 bonus video, and, you know, early access and getting questions answered. That's, I feel like, is fairly manageable. But even still, like, I feel like I'm behind sometimes. So make it a Patreon perk to design your face tattoo at some point. Adam Neely, ever thought of doing a meetup sometime? Yeah, whenever I'm performing, I would love to do a meetup. I would love for people to come hang out. By the way, I can advertise this. This is the perfect venue for me to advertise. Maybe I'm going to make these live streams a little bit more regular just so I can advertise gigs. I have a gig coming up tomorrow. Aberdeen. Let me actually check out where this place is. This is going to be a fun gig. I'm playing with Aberdeen. I'm also playing with Drew of the Drew, which is a bass player. He plays with JP Bouvet. I'm not playing in his band. I'm playing the same bill as he is. Where the hell is this? But that's going to be a really fun thing. Aberdeen. Where the hell is this? Where is this thing? Sorry. My computer's... Caravan Sessions. Where is this? It's a rooftop party. I'm supposed to be advertising this, and I don't know any of the details. I just know that I'm supposed to show up somewhere at some point. It's at... I'll put the address if anybody wants to show up tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's this address. Boom. Somewhere in Brooklyn. So come hang out. That's where we're doing it. Adam Neely, where are you normally advertising gigs? On my Facebook profile. I don't really do a whole lot of... I really should be doing this a little bit more, just because I do want to make it so that people are coming out. For the longest time, I was always playing these gigs, which I didn't really want anybody to go to because they were what I would call money gigs. I don't really do those anymore, just because I have a Patreon and YouTube channel. I do weddings still, but I'm slowly phasing those out because they're quite exhausting. and they are really good money, but it's honestly like just so exhausting to do those every weekend. So I'm doing less of those. So I'm mainly just focusing on like various sideman gigs of bands that I enjoy playing with. And Aberdeen is a band that I enjoy playing with. And, you know, that is what I'm doing. So yeah, come out tomorrow, 689 Myrtle Avenue, Brooklyn, 7 p.m. We're playing. Is it a good idea to crowdsource others playing my music for recording projects? How would I go about it? I know that Andrew Wong has done that actually for some videos. You can do it on Fiverr. I think there's musicians who play that. I think that's a fun way of doing it. I think that might be a fun way. And, you know, musicians can get paid, and you can you can find musicians that you like. I think that's an interesting idea. So maybe try it out. Try it out. See what you work. You ignoring me, lol. Do you realize how many I'm getting? 21 questions a minute. That's not enough for me to answer everyone, so I apologize if I ignore you. I'm just basically, unless you have a super chat, and you know, I hate that it's like this, but I'm basically just picking questions that I like, so, or that I notice, so kind of random. Adam Neely, what do you think of Whiplash? Haven't seen it yet. Was gonna live stream it at one point, but like live stream me watching it. Would anybody be interested in that, by the way? That might be kind of a fun thing. So yeah, I tried it once, but the YouTube content ID blocked it, but I feel like I figured out a way of like switching that. So maybe I'm gonna like live stream me watching Whiplash. That'd be a fun one. How does that iPad setup work for gigs? Well, let me show you. I know people have been saying like, you shouldn't say iPad, you should say like, you know, something else. Like you shouldn't advertise for iPad. Well, everybody uses a fucking iPad, so that's just what it is. Everybody does. So I use 2 apps. For wedding gigs, I use something called the Adobe Acrobat Reader. And well, you really, holy shit, you can't see that. Okay, well. Yeah, this is not the best way of doing this. Oh well. I use Adobe Acrobat Reader. Oh. Shut up. I use Adobe Acrobat Reader. Yeah, I know it's this webcam. I'm still like, hold on. Maybe I can. Maybe it's like this. Maybe this will work. No. Yeah, forget it. Forget it. Adobe Acrobat Reader. You skipped a super chat. It didn't pop up at the top. Oh, sorry. Have you ever heard of Dominique Forest-Lapont? Thanks for reminding me. No, I haven't. Sorry. I have not heard of Dominique Forest-Lapont. Thanks for that. Okay. Thoughts on experimental electronic music concrete composers like Karlheinz Stockhausen, Pierre Schaeffer, and do you think you could still have an influence today? Never really got into Stockhausen. Don't really know much about Pierre Schaeffer. I mean, the music concrete stuff is interesting. Like intellectually, I find it interesting, but it doesn't do anything for me emotionally whatsoever. And I just haven't gotten into it. It just hasn't been for me. Like for me, the more interesting, weird avant-garde electronic stuff or cutting edge stuff has always been, or at least in the past year or so, has been microtonal music. I've been trying really hard to get into microtonal music. I've been compiling lists of microtonal music that I feel like is interesting and sounds good, because man, microtonal music can sound shitty, but there's been a lot of stuff that I found that sounds really interesting and really good. So that's been the stuff that's been exciting for me, not so much the music concrete stuff. So what vocoder you use for live situations? The Iron Lung by Electro Harmonics, but honestly, I'm going to sell that and get rid of it because it's super fickle. I don't really like it that much. Otherwise, the Ableton Live vocoder is much better. My school forced law-based minor in the curriculum. Any thoughts? I have no idea what that is. Law-based minor. Sorry, can't help there. Rubens Emilio Alves Morera writes, Mussorgsky's Bydlo is written in 5 sharps, B major, ends in B, but it sounds like it should end in G sharp. How do I actually know the actual key of a piece? That's interesting. It really depends. It really depends. I'm not sure if you can say one way or the other that if it ends in if it ends in a certain key, then that is the key that it's in. If it feels like it's in a key, that's the key that it's in. But that feeling can be a little subjective, and that's where you get it's kind of tricky when you're talking about music theory analysis. That feeling of tonality, like what you feel one should be, sometimes is not universal. And that's a really interesting thing about like where your ear is saying where one is. Because, is it in the relative major? Is it in the relative minor? For example, in cyclic chord progressions like Despacito, coming back around to the Despacito conversation, is the chord progression 6 minor, 4 major, 1 major, 5 major, or is it 1 minor, flat 6 major, flat 3 major, flat 7 major? Like, is that first chord, that first B minor, the tonic, or is it the 6th chord? Who knows? I hear it generally as the tonic, but other people might hear it as the 6th chord. Oh wow, people are doing Watch Adam at 689 Myrtle Avenue, Brooklyn, New York at 7 p.m. Yeah, this is my first time I'm doing gig spam. So Jack Stratton of Wolfpack is doing a series on musicians that not many people know about, particularly in groups of threes. Do you have a holy trinity of musicians? I haven't thought about that. I'll get back to you. I do really, really like their latest album, or latest video, Birds of a Feather. I feel like they finally hit on something that was like really special. From a visual standpoint, from an artistic standpoint, and just from a sound standpoint. Birds of a Feather, their latest thing, I really dig it. I know it's not cool in certain circles, like jazz meme circles, to like Wolfpack, but I finally really can say like Wolfpack is really awesome. I mean, I always thought they were awesome, but yeah, especially. Is there a specific reason why you play upright with a German bow as opposed to a French bow? Also, do you watch Sideways? Don't watch Sideways. I've watched Sideways with Paul Giamatti, the movie. It's good. Is there a specific reason why you play upright with a German bow? No, that's where I started. Never bothered changing. Yeah, sorry. Is Bill Wirtz doing something special musically? Yeah, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, no in the sense that his style is just kind of this, very much jingle-based. Like, he's really good at coming up with specific jingles, which it's an interesting way of thinking. And, I mean, no in the sense that it's not, like, breaking any new ground musically, specifically, but it's such a specific style, and it's such a well-formed idea. God, like Bill Wirtz is like an insane once-in-a-generation mind that I would love to be able to talk to sometimes. He's kind of a strange person, I've been told. I don't think I've ever met him in person. I know a friend of mine was a friend at Berkeley with him. We went to Berkeley at the same time. A friend of mine goes by Emily Prime is her stage name, but her name is Kate Steinberg. She's this amazing background vocalist, but she also has her own stuff. She's really intensely dedicated, amazing musician, but she was friends with Bill at Berkeley and said that he was really a strange guy for obvious reasons. But I would love to be able to talk to him about a lot of stuff and, just talk shop with him because he is brilliant. What is your video editing workflow? Oh God, I've come to hate video editing. I mean, I'm good at it. I'm fine at it, but in the end, I would rather just be making music. I do all the editing for my videos myself. It's just a slog. I'd rather write scripts and do other shit, but at some point I might hire somebody to do it. But yeah, that might be in the near future. In the next couple months, I might start outsourcing the video editing. But any more Sungazer music anytime soon, or is that project done? There is music that's kind of in the pipeline, but the project is more or less done, unfortunately. I hate to be the bringer of bad news, but Sean is kind of like, he's probably moving to Europe, and just the schedules haven't really aligned in any sort of way that has been conducive to making music. So we still have music left to release for sure, but in terms of any live shows, probably not going to happen anytime soon, at least in the next couple years. Sad, I know, but you know that basically frees up my schedule for any other sort of touring sorts of things. So, going to do that. What's been the most surreal experience as far as meeting musicians you idolize? Victor Wooten. That always, like, when I first met him when I was 14, that was the most like unbelievable thing, and I still like look back to that. You know, I've met him a few times after that, and at some point I'm gonna, you know, have a conversation in with him, but I would love to do that, have him on the channel like Rick Beato did. But you know, yeah, Victor Wooten. Bebopopotamus, hey, what's it going, Russ? Russ is a friend of mine from Berkeley. Lived in his apartment for a couple weeks randomly for some reason. I forget why that was. But Russ asks, can you tell me about performing with Ableton Live? I'm trying to incorporate Ableton with a live band. I'd like to know the bare minimum of what I'd need to do with it. Really depends on like what you want to do with it. The way that I've generally used Ableton Live has been kind of like using it to run tracks essentially. Session view is very powerful, but I haven't used it in this context of a band so much. I've used it with Sungazer. It's super complicated. I mainly use it to trigger stems, trigger tracks, and then also trigger patch changes. So like if I arrive at a certain section of a song, I'll like change my bass patch to be like from distorted, like through Guitar Rig, to like a clean tone or whatever, and just use the automated patch switching to my advantage, and that's really useful. I haven't messed with the more advanced sort of things that like DJs do, but you know, that has been my experience with Ableton Live. So, law-based minor is using the relative major scale syllables over a minor scale. Instead of starting on the minor scale on do, it would be on la. It's easier to read, but I feel like internalizing tonic is lost. Yeah, that would be a little strange. That's kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't want to use law-based minor. Yeah, to be 100% honest. Adam Neely, can you rap? I did have some hilarious raps in high school, in 9th grade, freshman year. That was really stupid. I forget what. Oh, man. Maybe I'm going to unearth that. It was like really bad. But no, I can't rap for real. Yummy. More coffee. Phlegm equals more coffee. Opinion on Anthony Fantano Needle Drop. Cool. I did a Q&A on it. You can check out more about my opinion. Spitting some fire. Nope. Not going to do that. Have you heard Hiatus Coyote? Yep. They're really cool. Really cool neo soul. I like the sound of Hiatus Coyote more than all of the bands that try and imitate Hiatus Coyote. I feel like a lot of people will do that, especially like younger musicians trying to get that neo soul drunk feel, but like nobody really nails it because it really requires you to spend some time with that sound, and it's tricky. How TF is there sun right now? Are you in New York? It's 2 a.m. That's not sun. That's just a bright light in the background, and my webcam is really bad with exposure, so that's just a light bulb. It's on the floor. Do you think we can create commercial music with metric modulation, polyrhythms, and odd meters? Sure. I mean, tons of popular music has that 4/3 polyrhythm, you know. 3/2 is popular too, you know. So, you make an outline for your chart/compositions. I tend to use just a notepad file and write out just general things I have in mind for a song, so there's a defined ending. Yeah, sometimes I'll generally have a pretty good idea. I won't write a whole lot of stuff down, but I'll generally have a pretty good idea of the shape of it once I start writing. Sometimes I just start writing and see what happens, but you know, I'll have a pretty good idea of what this sort of thing is. At the same time, I do like you know, I do like letting my musical ideas take me where I go. And the thing that I pretty much always am is I'm a linear composer. I start at the beginning and I write until the end, which is a little strange for some people because some people like, well, they think like, hey, you know, maybe I have an idea for this section, so I'll write that section first, but then, you know, I'll worry about what happens before, so I'll write that later. I almost always just start from bar 1 and then I end at the ending. That's always been the case for me. So, you know, it's a little odd because I feel like some people don't do that, but that's how I do it. How do we write music in weird modes without making the one chord always sound out of place? Hammer on the one chord. You know, the way that, you know, in not West African, Indian classical music treats weird modes, or all the ragas, is there's always a drone, and the sound of the mode or the sound of the raga is always compared against the drone. And so that's the way that, like, you can internalize the rhythms, or sorry, internalize the intervals. It's basically the intervallic relationships of a particular melodic note against the drone. And whenever you write in a weird mode, it would help to always have that tonic below in some way, and just to get your ear acclimated to it, just to keep your ear in that mode, just as a practice tool for learning how to get inside of a mode. So, for example, if you're like trying to learn how to create music in Dorian flat 2, it's kind of an odd mode, Dorian flat 2. I think it's the second mode of the melodic minor. Am I right about that? Yes. Second mode of melodic minor, Dorian flat 2. Yeah, just hammer out a low note for you to like play. Like if you're in C Dorian flat 2, just hammer out that low C and start playing that Dorian flat 2, that C Dorian flat 2, excuse me, all up and down, so you can really get the sound of it in your ear. So Indian raga drones are the predecessor to Mustang Sally. Got it. Yep, that's exactly what I said. Repetition legitimizes t-shirt. That's a good idea. Might do that. That would be really fun. All ancient temples and pyramids were built on A432 hertz, the sun's frequency. This is true. Also, all music should be based on A432, and all medicine that was from the ancient Chinese Qing dynasty was based on 432 hertz and stuff. What is a good way to approach rehearsing performing more advanced polyrhythms like 5/8 and 4/4 at the same time as a group? Calculate where everything lines up and practice along like your part. In other words, 5/8 and 4/4 at the same time. It's a very minimalist Reichian sort of way of approaching. I would say practice along, like really know what your part is before you try starting to play with other people. Like really lock in with the click. In fact, actually making sure that there's a metronome, like a bass tempo that you can really lock in with, that can really help. Yeah, so I think that would be great. Rubens Emilio Alvarez Morera, thank you again for that donation. So guys, I think I'm actually gonna call it a night right now. I've been talking for a while. I really appreciate everybody who did the donations. I just wish I could keep going forever, but it is like 1:20 and I'm wired from this coffee. I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed because, as Vibrational Magician keeps typing out, thank you, Vibrational Magician, I am playing tomorrow at 7 p.m. at 689 Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn with the band Aberdeen, which is a fantastic horn band in the style roughly of like the Lucky Chop sort of thing, except it's a little bit more rock-based versus horn band pop-based. Anyway, it's a good time. It's a great band. Ian Barnett, the drummer of Betty Who, is a pop singer, is our drummer for that night. And also we're playing the same bill as Drew of the Drew, who plays with JP Bouvet. Fractal, oh, I'm sorry. I just want to answer this one last super chat that Fractal sent in. Sorry about ending this right now. Thanks Fractal for getting this one more in. Audiation/audiating. How do you practice this? Will it make my ear better? The best way I know of how to practice this is start by playing a note like on the keyboard. So say you play the note C, and then play another note, like maybe play the note D. Then go back to play the note C and try and then hear the D in your head. So you have the memory of that D as you just heard it. So the more that you play a note and then try and remember how another note relates back to it, the better your mind's ear will become. Visualizing how something is going to sound when you're playing it, like on a piano or maybe your instrument is a great way of audiating it because you have the muscle memory that's associated with different notes. So if I'm playing on bass, I can visualize a C major triad on bass, and I can really help with audiating because I have so much experience playing a C major triad on my bass, and that will kind of inform the audiation. So that is, the more that you visualize things on your instrument, the more that will help hearing it in your mind's ear. Oscar, thank you so much for the donation. Thanks for asking my questions. I appreciate you all. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. This will hopefully be on the main channel. We'll see. Fingers crossed. We'll see if I like how I sound. I'm going to, maybe in the next day or two, this will be up for future viewing perusal. So, until next time, everybody. Peace!